At the middle of the writing lesson, I always stop the students and have a mid-workshop teaching point, so something else that I'd like to point out to them. In this case, they looked at another memoir and talked about it with each other, and it purposely had a third structure that we hadn't looked at in the mini lesson, so they were able to discuss that. We came back together and discussed the structure of that memoir, which was essay-like, and then they were able to go about their writing and continue. Okay, writers, can I have your attention for just a moment? So we've been reading text today as if we're flying above them, and you know that we looked at one that was kind of like a list, and then we looked at another that was similar to 11 that had kind of an essay and then a narrative. I've placed inside your writing folder another memoir called Quietly Struggling. We've seen that before. Can you pull that out for me? Now what I'd like you to do at your table is talk very quickly about what you notice about the structure of this text. See if it's different than the other ones that we've looked at, and see if you can find some evidence in the text to prove what type of structure you think is here. So go ahead and glance over it. Remember, you're not reading for details. We're looking at it as if we're flying over it in the airplane, looking out the window. So go ahead and look for just a second, and then turn and talk about what structure you notice. All right, so writers, what did you notice about the structure of this memoir? Kenzie, what did you notice?
I noticed that the first paragraph was more of a narrative and the rest of the story was more essay-like.
Okay, so you felt like it was an essay at the end. Can somebody add on to that? What did you notice about it that made it feel essay-like? Ty.
I noticed that the writer or author used a lot of reasons. Like she said first reason, then another reason, and then she used evidence to back that up.
Okay, so we noticed that it had reasons, which was similar to the informational text that we've learned how to write, correct? Okay, so writers, on our chart, we've added that we can also structure our memoir as an essay, like you just saw in Quietly Struggling, where the writer makes a claim and supports it with reasons. And some of you noticed that the reasons in this text were kind of narrative in nature. She was backing it up with reasons that were stories. So as you go back to your writing and you're thinking about the structure that your memoir will take, remember that you have lots of choices. Just pick the one that works best for your memoir and bringing out the meaning in your text. So you can go ahead and go back to your writing and the plan that you were working on for today. In my student-teacher conferences, I'm looking at their writing. Sometimes I'll look at it ahead of time, but a lot of times it's right there on the floor. It may be a goal that they have, and I help to give them strategies and ideas for reaching that goal. It could be something I'm noticing in their writing, and I give them a strategy of something that great writers do that they can then try, and I usually have them attempt part of that while they're with me so that I can see that they're successful before they leave the floor. And then we'll always check back again later to see how they've done at applying those strategies in their writing. All right, Kenzie, so can you tell me about the work you've been doing in the memoir unit?
I have been writing little segments of like comparing and contrasting and then and now.
So to develop your theme?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So remember when we talked about the watermelon?
Yes.
And then the seeds in the watermelon?
Right.
These are all seeds in the watermelon.
Okay.
And then I'm just kind of blowing them up.
So you're working from a small story to your bigger theme?
Yes.
You're working kind of backwards, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and how have you been working to make sure that you're writing deeply and you're bringing out the meaning? What have you been doing to do that?
I've been using the push our thinking.
Okay, the chart that we used, okay. So show me a part of that where you feel like you really pushed yourself.
When I really think I pushed myself when I was talking about how the words connect.
Okay, so you're taking two themes that aren't related and trying to find a connection between them. Good, and that's a great thing to do for your memoir. Now, we talked about structure today, so what are you thinking for the structure of your piece?
I want it to have, like in the Quietly Struggling, the first paragraph is sort of more narrative-like, and then below in the rest of the story have it more essay-like, and then all of the reasons have them.
Now, in Quietly Struggling, the reasons were somewhat narrative.
Yes, ma'am.
The reasons that they gave, are you planning on that, or are your reasons going to be something else?
I think I'll keep it like
because you have a lot of material. I noticed the last time we met where you've collected a lot of seed stories about standing up for yourself and other people standing up for yourself and kind of thought about that theme from lots of different angles.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what's your work for today? What are you going to go back and work on?
Well, I never finished my comparing and contrasting.
So you're going to
So
work on finishing
I
that?
finished that, and then I'm going to start putting together and
So you're going to
crafting
take
my memoir.
all the pieces and put it together.
ma'am.
Okay, I can't wait to see how it turns out. Thank you. Each mini lesson in our writer's workshop introduces the students to a new strategy that they can use to help improve their craft of writing. Like, for instance, in our memoir unit, we've talked about writing like a duck. So we're not skimming the surface of the topic, but we're diving deep and writing deep thoughts. We've talked about watermelon and seed stories and writing, specific stories, or in our memoir unit, moving from either the larger theme to a seed or backwards from that. So all of these strategies, I hear my students referencing them later in the year. They go back to them once we've passed that unit, and they're something that they keep in their repertoire to increase the craft of their writing.
Hey, Jonah, pardon me for interrupting, but can we visit for a second?
Sure.
When you and I met a couple of weeks ago, you were sharing with me your chapter book that you were reworking.
Yes.
How's that going?
Since then, I haven't really got a lot of time to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
When I finish my memoir piece, I think I'm gonna focus more on this piece.
How's your rewrite coming? Because I know you had started reworking it, so how's that coming along?
I had noticed in my first story it was kind of a listing of events, and I put like I went to school and we went to field day and stuff like that. In this one, I put a poem in the first two paragraphs, which was the night before my birthday, and when I wake up the next morning and have breakfast, and I open my present from my mom.
Gotcha.
and-
So did you move away from sort of the listing of events and move more into a
Yes.
narrative?
And in my other story, I had started out with I was in the car right on about to get out of the car. I just think it sounds better when I add the poem when it's the night before my birthday.
So why'd you decide on poetry?
I just thought it'd sound better.
I'm intrigued. I can't wait to read it when you finish. And you had mentioned that your work on your memoir has kind of kept you from reworking your chapter
Yes.
book. So tell me more about your work that you've been doing in this memoir unit.
This is like writing about a theme. I'm writing about bravery,
Okay.
and
And how are you structuring this piece about bravery?
I'm gonna put different length paragraphs,
Okay.
and each of them is going to be talking about mostly the same thing.
All right.
I had started out, I was going to put more than one theme in here, but I had noticed that my other two, it was courage and being strong.
Okay.
I noticed they mostly related to bravery, so I just squeezed it all into bravery and wrote about mostly this and added courage and bravery along with it.
Gotcha. Okay, so definitely you have a clear idea of your theme for your piece, definitely. But how are you, think about the work that you've been doing with how to structure a memoir. And remember, even in today's mini lesson, Ms. Cinco gave some options for structuring memoir. So how is your current piece being structured?
My current piece, I haven't really started to structure it yet.
Okay.
Right after we talk, I'm gonna continue this writing and adding paragraphs
Okay.
because I haven't really been adding paragraphs yet.
Okay, so you're just getting your thoughts down right
Yes.
now, and then you'll go back and organize it and determine a plan for structure. Okay, well, if you don't mind, I'd love to check in with you later in the week and see how you're progressing in that. Okay? Thanks for sharing with me today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, back to work.
In meeting with students in both small group, large group, and also individual conferences, I hear my students speaking the language of the standards and of Writer's Workshop. And they remember the strategies that we've introduced, they're talking that, and they're very familiar with that content.